You see it there. Beautiful Kansas City. The New York Giants headed in to take on the Kansas City Chiefs for a Monday night matchup that is sure to have delicious barbecue and be very cold. That's what we know is going to happen. We also know that for the next 30 minutes, we're going to get you caught up on everything you need to know for that game. It's Monday Tailgate. He's Skubie Mageza. I'm Jason Fitz. We're hanging out with you for the next 30. We're going to get you caught up on all the news of the day and obviously tonight's massive matchup. And I say massive because this is a Giants team that has not had the greatest season yet so far, Skubie, but they're taking on a Chiefs team that we thought was going to have a great year that seems to be struggling a little bit. So there's a lot on the line for this Giants-Chiefs matchup tonight.
Yeah, and it's a great chance for both teams to kind of recharge their season, if you would say, especially for the Chiefs, because they're going against a team that they can really take advantage of, because we've seen the Giants have struggles in the past. But then for the Giants, we see them play well recently, so to get this win against the Chiefs would be nice.
Yeah, the Giants 2-5 right now. Obviously not the season they wanted to have, but Daniel Jones has had some good football in there. Now he takes on a defense that has been wildly susceptible to basically anything and everything other teams want to do. So we'll see what that means. We've got a lot to break down on that game, and of course, we'll do that through the course of the next 30 minutes. If you're watching us in the ESPN app, be sure to authenticate. You can just hang out right here. That's all you got to do. You authenticate, and then you can stay here with the cable provider, and you can watch Monday Night Football without having to do anything else. So make sure you do that for us. In the meantime, a lot of league news that we need to get to. It's a big day across all of the NFL as we have trade news, we have injury news, all sorts of stuff going on. And we'll start with the big injury news because as anybody that's watched any football this year can tell you, I think Derrick Henry was having an MVP season. We're talking about Derrick Henry putting up Hall of Fame-like numbers and continuing to absolutely crush it for the Titans. And now we find out that in their win over the Colts, Derrick Henry broke a bone in his foot. Not only did he break a bone in his foot, Scooby, but he carried the ball 20-plus times after the break. So he helped will his team to a victory, but at what cost? Because at this point, we now know that he's going to undergo surgery. He's going to be gone for an extended amount of time.
Yeah, and I remember watching the game, and the camera cut towards the sideline. We were in a group text. We even said, uh-oh, Derrick Henry's hurt. He had his shoe off. He was trying to run up and down the sideline. And he didn't look like he was in so much pain at the time, but it still made everybody raise their eyebrow because they didn't put him on the injury report at the time or anything. So it's really concerning to see it. And honestly, for me, unfortunately, you can almost see this coming. And here's the reason why I said it, because Derrick Henry's workload has been off the charts this season. His 219 rushes are the most by any player in his first 8 games in NFL history. So they were riding this guy. And the truth is, for football, it's a violent game. And if you're going to get a lot of touches, you're bound to put yourself in position to get hurt.
Well, I'll be transparent with you guys. There are times that things happen. Well, by the way, these shoes with the logo, the NFL Films, and my neon shoe. Fire! All right. So every once in a while, news breaks, and I immediately know who I'm going to text you up to, and this guy's at the top of that list. We're going to go now, get a little guest power in here to get some local flavor on it. My buddy Buck Reising joins us right there. Nashville knows Buck incredibly well. Buck has covered this team for several years and is not only staggeringly good-looking, but also well-informed. So, Buck, let's start with the obvious here. What's the latest on Derrick Henry from what you've been able to find out?
The latest is that he's shut down for the foreseeable future, guys. Appreciate you having me on. Derrick Henry dealing with that foot injury yesterday in the first quarter of the Colts game. Mike Vrabel wouldn't comment on timelines, informed us that he was going to have surgery tomorrow morning on Tuesday, and they would evaluate it from there. Vrabel also said the doctors love timelines, but he was going to rely on his medical staff for that to try and figure out just when they might be able to get the one they call King here in Nashville back up and running.
Hey, you mentioned Vrabel. You know him pretty well there. I mean, the quote about like doctors and timelines, how much of that is real and how much of that's just him sort of egging everybody on?
Yeah, Mike, isn't a fan of talking about injuries, so certainly when his star running back goes down, he's going to be in a bit of a mood. But what he's basically saying there, and he's super protective when it comes to these players. The players, in fact, love him for it, for the external pressure that it helps ward off. It just means that Mike Vrabel isn't going to follow timelines as far as that's concerned. He's going to wait until his medical staff clears the player, and then we'll go off how the player is feeling personally, no matter who the situation is, Derrick Henry or otherwise, to best determine when those guys can be available to go. They've done the same thing with Julio Jones, A.J. Brown, guys of that nature all year long. It will be no different in the case of Derrick Henry.
Yeah, and it's almost like a speaking into an existence type of situation. I love what Mike is doing, but then when we look at it realistically, they're losing nearly 80% of their rushing yards without Derrick Henry in their backfield. Let's just be honest, how screwed are the Titans without Derrick Henry?
Oh, is it only 80% of their rushing yards? I would have thought it was a much higher percentage. I mean, guys, this dude averages 27 and a half carries a game, and now they're replacing him with Adrian Peterson, who was averaging just a touch over 9 last season with the Detroit Lions. Honestly, it is going to change the dynamics of this football team, and they've been struggling with health across the board, whether it's Bud Dupree, their big free agent acquisition. They've been managing Julio Jones since acquiring him from the Atlanta Falcons back in June. Screwed, I think, might be strong terms, though, because the best part of what the Titans are doing in 2021, outside of Derrick Henry, is the fact that they found legitimate pass rush. They've been able to beat teams like the Bills and the Chiefs by getting pressure with 4, had a huge impact in the fourth quarter and overtime against the Indianapolis Colts yesterday in rattling off 3 straight AFC wins. They've got a stranglehold on their division. Honestly, I think they're in about as good a possible position given how bad the news was today.
Buck, you are the best. Guys, follow him on Twitter at Buck Reising. Always appreciate you answering the phone when we call, my friend.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Enjoy the game tonight.
Look, at the end of the day, Buck also pointed out on Twitter, Ryan Tannehill got a little dinged up in that last game, too. His neck's having some issues. I won't say necessarily that the Titans are screwed, but the Titans are going to have to rethink a lot of things. They're going to have to redesign how they run their offense. We'll see what difference Adrian Peterson can make right now. But, I think, Scooby, that this road just got a lot tougher. What helps them is that they managed to get a big win over the Colts. That helps them in the division. It buys them a little bit of space. But I don't think things look good for the Titans right now.
Yeah, and they were going through a gauntlet part of their schedule, correct? Because when they had that game on Monday Night Football, when we were sitting right here, I said, looking ahead towards the Titans schedule, they got some tough matchups, and they've been able to come out on top in those matchups, but they don't have Derrick Henry. And dating back to 2019, they're 15-1 when Derrick Henry goes over 115 yards rushing. So to take away that strong rushing attack and that threat of no Derrick Henry is really concerning for this team, but that just means everybody needs to step up, and that A.J. Brown and Ryan Tannehill connection is one.
Speaking of stepping up, we saw that one of the other big stories from yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw this, but the Jets won. The Jets beat the Bengals. Somehow the Jets this year have wins over the Titans and Bengals. I can't figure it out. But in the process of winning, Mike White dominates. That's not a misprint.
Mike White, baby!
405 passing yards, second most by a quarterback in his first career start since 1950. The Jets scored 30 points for the first time in 27 games, the last time against my beloved Raiders. I mean, Mike White came out and tore up, and it has everybody in their feels about what that means. But I'm also looking at that saying, Scooby, is that a statement not to Mike White's greatness, but to some of the struggles for Zach Wilson?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both, right? But at the same time, we've always seen these backups sometimes come in on their first game and tear it up. I was really impressed with what Mike White did, and then the game plan of the coaches. When you look at the statistics, 45 of his passes traveled more than 15 yards. None of them traveled more than 15 yards downfield. They made sure to keep it short, dinky routes, and he did his job, and he got things done, and Zach Wilson hasn't been able to do that.
I mean, think about the fact that he threw 45 times for a guy making his first start. Absolutely incredible. And kudos to Mike White for going out and getting it done. I think we can have all the other conversations about the future, but that's a guy that came in, got his first start, and killed it. Speaking of quarterbacks, got some bad news for the Saints, and the organization right now has to look around and hold their breath as we find out Jameis Winston has torn his ACL. Jameis out now for the year. This is a big story because remember, they came in sort of trying to figure out whether Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston would be the starter. Taysom Hill may or may not be out of concussion protocol. Trevor Siemian was starting for him. And this is not where the Saints wanted to be right now.
No, not at all. And you just got to feel for a guy like Jameis because he was having one of the best starts to his entire career playing with the Saints. And Sean Payton has almost turned into that quarterback whisperer, quarterback magician. And we've seen him, kind of getting Winston to go down the right path, and to see his season end in such a way is really disappointing. But like I said, Sean Payton, quarterback whisperer, he's got Trevor Siemian, and I think they'll be fine with him.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting because as you see in the scoreboard, they get a big win over Tampa Bay. I don't think I'm the only person that when Tampa Bay got the ball back with like a $140 something left, I mean, my first thought was, well, you left Brady too much time. Like, we say that every time. You left him too much time. Like, you're supposed, like, at some point, the goal is to score, and, like, we fault teams. You can't leave them that much. They scored the touchdown, but it turns out to work for them. And now you see the numbers here. I mean, the Saints may just be the little bit of kryptonite for Brady.
But it's like Brady then just turns it up during the postseason because that's really when he's on a different level.
No.
But at the end of the day, they got the win, and it was a huge win for the Saints. And I'm curious to see what they're going to be doing going forward with that position. Now they got to get more creative, and they'll be getting Taysom Hill back at some point in time as well.
Now, we do have big news out of the NFL. I want to make sure you didn't miss yesterday. It's important news for Calvin Ridley, the superstar wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons. He's stepping away from the game to focus on his mental health. He tweeted this: "These past few weeks have been very challenging, and as much as I'd like to be on the field competing with my teammates, I need to step away from football at this time and focus on my mental well-being. This will help me be the best version of myself now and in the future." And we wanted to mention it here because I think there's a couple of things about this, Scooby, that are really important. As somebody myself that grew up in a family with mental health struggles, and it's something that has impacted me throughout the course of my life, I always want to be open and real in these conversations. If Calvin Ridley is struggling mentally, then the organization needs to step back and let him have his space. They're doing that. And we as a community need to really help lift him up. And these are the moments where I want to remind everybody, at the end of the day, he's a human being that happens to play football. And if as a human being, he needs the opportunity to step away to get mentally right, that's all that should matter here.
Yeah, one of the biggest things with mental health for me is that we need to normalize it being just as important as physical. Because if he had a broken leg or a sprained ankle, he wouldn't be playing. But right now, the thing about mental health, it's the same thing. His brain, it's not functioning the same way. His brain's ankle is sprained, if you would say. So to take time for him to recover is very important. And the first step in mental health is being able to recognize that you're not in the right position mentally. And I commend him so much for doing this. It takes some courage. And it's important for all of us, everyone out there, identify that mental health is real. And if you have some problems mentally, it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah, have tough conversations. Ask people if they're doing okay. Let's move on to the big news that we haven't gotten to yet that everybody's been talking about. We got trade news. The trade deadline is tomorrow afternoon in the NFL, and we were getting ready for the show saying, hey, we got to have our minds sharp. You never know what's going to happen. Well, then, massive trade. Von Miller traded to the Rams in exchange for a second and third round pick. Also important to note here, Scooby, not only is Von Miller going to the Rams, but the Broncos are paying $9 million of his $9.7 million contract. So at the end of the day,
I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, they're paying the money out, and Von is basically getting to go. And now the Rams have a stacked defense as he's going to join Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, and the rest of the guys.
Yeah, the Rams are selling out. At this point in time, it's either championship or bust, in my opinion. And this is such a great move for them because they did it to counteract Kyler Murray. You look at that division, you got to be able to go after the quarterback, and Kyler Murray is one of the quarterbacks you want to go after. And then you also have Aaron Donald. You also have Jalen Ramsey. I mean, Aaron Donald leads the NFL in sacks since his rookie season in 2014, and Von Miller is fourth in that span. So now they have those guys working together on the defensive line. Good luck.
Yeah, the only problem I have with this for the Broncos is I get it. The Broncos are trading to get more draft equity, and smartly pointed out, I'll steal this from Mike Golick Jr., smartly pointed out that maybe they're arming themselves with enough picks to make an aggressive move at a Aaron Rodgers or at a Deshaun Watson at some point. But realistically, the Broncos are only a game out of the playoff conversation right now. They might not be a great team. I don't know. But they're at least they're playing 500 ball right now, and they're in the conversation. I don't see how getting a second and third round pick in next year's draft makes this year's team any more competitive.
Yeah, exactly. Did they help themselves? And the answer to that question is no. All they did was help the Rams.
Yeah.
And now the Rams are looking like a scary team. I mean, you already got so many. First off, I think we all need to give some credit and tip our hats to their GM because he has made some incredible acquisitions. You already got Matthew Stafford this offseason, and now you find a way to get Von Miller, and the team is paying more than 90% of his salary.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, Les Snead is going all in, and good work by him. Also, on the trade rumor mill, OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr., what's going to happen next? Because you're talking about somebody that's obviously not happy. He's made it clear that he wants to go somewhere else. But at the end of the day, you've also got several different teams that, off the record, are saying they're not sure they want to get into that package. Scooby, would you trade for Odell Beckham Jr.?
As a fan, Yes, I would trade for Odell Beckham. Release OBJ, please. But at the same time, he also has an $8 million salary, and teams don't want to take all that money on, especially with the salary cap going from 182 to 208. So they're trying to make sure that they re-sign their guys, give them extensions, and to take on an $8 million salary for Odell Beckham, who is more so a big name than he is a big player lately.
Before we get off the trade deadline, I just got to get one thing off my chest. We all know Kansas City's not playing particularly well. What's funny to me is that one of the arguments I'm seeing everybody tweet about is that Kansas City should go out and aggressively get more weapons. Really? Like, Aaron Rodgers has got to be sitting there just drinking his way through this entire thing. Because you're telling me you got Tyreek, you're telling me you got Kelsey, and you're telling me that the answer is more weapons? No, the answer is stop turning the football over. The answer is just to, play better defense. The answer is not to go get more playmakers for Kansas City. But also, I'm a Raiders fan, so I'm biased. But as much as we talk about these trades, though, let's also remember these are real human beings that are in these conversations, and it's an emotional moment to be traded. We were reminded of that today when Von Miller was stopped in his car and asked about leaving Denver.
Everything is just still, new, and it's hard to, really put the emotions into words. This is all I know. This is all I, ever knew playing a pro sports. Here with the Denver Broncos, I've been here through the ups and the downs, and it's always tough whenever you leave, though. But I love all my fans. I love Broncos country. When I said Broncos for life, I meant that. And it'll always be on my heart.
All right, if there's anything I'm sure of, Von Miller has spent many a Sunday scaring quarterbacks. But this week, we had scary quarterbacks because they were playing so well, out of their minds. In fact, we decided to do some fun with Sunday Scaries. Let's rank some quarterbacks here based on the level of not just their success this week, but how scared everybody should be next week of their success.
You got different levels of scaredom as well, too. I like it.
And that's why I'm going to go first on this, Scooby. And I'm going to put Matt Stafford right in there with shaking with fear. Look, the Rams beat the Texans, fine. But at the end of the day, what we're seeing here is Sean McVay, the wonder coach that everybody's freaking in love with, doing Sean McVay things like because he's got a quarterback that he can trust. And you're looking at 22 touchdowns through the first 8 games. Woo! Absolutely historic performance. Everybody should be shaking in fear with him for the rest of the year, not just this Sunday.
I completely agree. It's like his career has taken a completely different turn. And to have him matched up with Sean McVay in LA, that defense has now gotten an upgrade. Sometimes that's exactly what the offense needs, a boost from the defense.
All right, so I gave us the first one. You give me the really scared, just not shaking with fear, but almost shaking with fear.
All right, I'm going to have to go with Aaron Rodgers.
Oh,
Aaron Rodgers. I mean, we could have put shaking with fear, but I'll put it over there because we still got that sour Skittle taste from his first game of the year. That analogy that you gave.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in control of this real quick. So, but still, at the end of the day, are you more scared the rest of the year of Aaron Rodgers or Matt Stafford? It's a tough question.
Yeah, I think at this moment in time, I'm going to say Matthew Stafford, but I am really scared of Aaron Rodgers. I mean, to be able to beat the Cardinals and give them their first loss of the year on the road Thursday night without Devontae Adams, without Allen Lazard. I mean, that's really impressive, and he's still showing us that he's a discount double check.
All right, so I'm going to, nice. In the middle of this one, scared. I mean, we're shaking with fear, but scared in the middle of this. I'm putting Josh Allen. And Josh Allen, beating the Dolphins again. I don't think that that's really what this is about. It's also about where he's going at this point. Taking on the Jags next week, if I'm the Jags, I'm scared to death of Josh Allen because he has absolutely turned into everything the Bills thought he would be. And frankly, he deserves as much love as he's getting right now.
Yeah, when you see what he did yesterday, the team had a slow start. It was 3-3 late in the third quarter, and then Josh Allen was still able to take over the game with his legs. X Factor, definitely got to be scared of him. I agree.
All right, so let's get way below the scared because, to me, there's a gap between scared and anxious. So, a quarterback that yesterday played really well and might have everybody, let's say, a little anxious. Who you got for this one?
I got to go with Mac Jones because at this point in time, come on, I know they my team, but I got to give some love to my guy.
Yeah.
And I'm really impressed with what he's been able to do this year to get a win against the Chargers, a team that people thought was going to blow them out, and he leads all rookies in passing touchdowns, 9th. That's 21st overall, but he's still getting better each and every week, and Mac Jones is doing exactly what the Patriots need him to do. Just don't lose us the game. Get in there, do your job, get the ball up and down the field, and then we'll go from there.
Well, and that leaves us one more spot for the meh. And I'm going to go Justin Fields. Not because Justin Fields played meh yesterday. In fact, over 100 yards rushing, and he looked lights out at different times of the game. Definitely. He goes to the meh category because he did everything he did yesterday without Matt Nagy on the field out because of COVID protocol. Nagy comes back, Fields continues to decline, in my opinion. So I put him in the Met. You good with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that because it's an up and down thing about Justin Fields. You see this flash of stardom in his rookie year, and then you're also going to see some bad. So at this moment in time, I'm kind of like meh because they don't even know how to use him yet.
All right, at the end of the day, I'm still confused how we managed to do a whole list about Sunday Scaries and performance and didn't put my beloved Derrick Carr in it. DC, I'm sorry.
That's because we're not worried about him. We're not worried about him.
Yeah, you're not worried about how much he's kicking everybody's butt. NBC, our most valuable guy around here always, and also dashingly good looking with a little bit of a similarity to Derek Carr, is the one, the only Phil Murphy. He's at the site of Monday night. As always, what you got for us, brother?
Fitz, Skubie, I'm here outside Arrowhead Stadium, home of the two-time AFC champion and the five-time reigning AFC West champion, Kansas City Chiefs. Guys, what happened last time against the Titans? Worst loss of the Patrick Mahomes era. Minus 12 turnover margin in the last 6 games, and now you guys face a Giants team, perhaps the high water mark of the Joe Judge era. They just beat down the Panthers. They might be hungry to add on to it. But here's the thing. Fitz and Skubie, the last time the Chiefs were below 500 through 7 games was 2015. They were 2-5. What happened after that, Fitz and Skubie? They won 10 in a row, made the playoffs, won the wild card. My friends here at Arrowhead are believing they're double-digit favorites today, and a lot of confidence to go around here at Chiefs Kingdom.
Just when you think Phil's having more fun than we could be having, that's not true because we are sitting at the debate table. Now, don't get this confused with our live stream daily show, The Debatable, which you should, by the way, check out. It's great work. We're going to take a topic. We're going to debate it right here at the debate table. See, debate table, debatable. All right, are you ready for this, Skubie?
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
Simple. What division in the NFL is best? As a gentleman host, I shall let you go first, good sir.
Well, that is easy. The NFC West, sir, is the best division in the entire NFL. And when you look at it, here's the reason why. Matter of fact, I'll give you 2 reasons why. They got the 2 best teams in the NFL in their conference. And then when you look at it, they also have a number of players who are injured on these teams that are still not there. We got George Kittle, we got Russell Wilson, we got J.J. Watt, who's injured. We got Chandler Jones, who started off injured. And we have guys that are coming back on these teams. And then let's look at the quarterbacks. Matthew Stafford, we got him having one of the best years ever under Sean McVay. We got Kyler Murray, MVP candidate. And then we also have the best looking coaches in the entire NFL on that conference. And who has a better house than Cliff Kingsbury? But on top of all of that, the competition. I mean, from top to bottom, it's really been impressive. And I love what the Rams are doing. I love what the 49ers are doing. And then we have some emerging players. We got Elijah Mitchell, Deebo Samuel, DK Metcalf, and now Von Miller is heading to the Rams. This is easily the most entertaining division in the NFL.
Okay, so you've got the geography right because it's certainly the West. But it's the AFC West, my friend, that's the best division in football. And this one is simple for me. Top to bottom, I'm talking about greatness all the way there. The last place team in the AFC West is the Kansas City Chiefs. And we all know everybody's sitting there every week kind of side-eyeing Kansas City saying, I'm not comfortable calling them out. No, because as much as you want to talk about quarterback play, I'm talking about an entire division, other than the Broncos, that has this nailed. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, 2 of the biggest brands that you've gotten all of young quarterback play. And then Derek Carr, MVP candidate. Derek Carr, MVC. Derek Carr coming in, completing over 91% of his passes in his last game. Come on now. When you look up and down if you want explosive plays, what do you got? You got explosive playmakers on all 3, and sometimes the Broncos, 4 teams. I'm telling you right now, the Broncos, we're saying that the Broncos are a dumpster fire. The Broncos are in the playoff hunt. The AFC West could legitimately send not just their division champion, but all 3 wild cards, because all 3 teams are in the standings right now.
The Broncos are the last team that I'm worried about in any division. Come on.
Yeah, but at least the Broncos try to play. The Seahawks don't even play any defense.
But hold on. We just saw Russell Wilson post something on his Twitter saying the pin is out. Pete Carroll said he's one of the greatest healers of all time. As soon as Russell Wilson comes back, this team is back to being dangerous.
But this is a tortoise in the hare. By the time Russell Wilson comes back, there's going to be so much ground to make up, it's not going to matter. The Seahawks are already going to be out of this.
No, the Seahawks are that team that can get back into this. And then we look at the top of the division. We got some of the teams that are the top teams in the entire NFL. This is a division where you don't want to see either one of these teams because they all get their job done the way that they're supposed to.
I'll take your George Kittle and I'll raise you a Darren Waller. I'll take all of your weapons over here that we're talking about, and I'll look over at the AFC West and say Tyreek Hill. Travis Kelce. You could just keep going weapon after weapon after weapon.
Okay.
Henry Ruggs playing like lights out.
Deebo Samuel just had the most receiving yards in the first 8 games of the 49ers season, beating Jerry Rice for that stat, mind you. If you beat Jerry Rice in any statistical category, you are having a phenomenal year. Smart coaches, offensive minds, from top to bottom. Pete Carroll, Cliff Kingsbury, Sean McVay. Come on, man.
You're telling me about everything they're going to do. I'm telling you about what's happening right now. Right now, the AFC West is happening. You guys, chime in. Tell us who won. Give us your thoughts on the best.
West, man.
No, it's all me all day. Well, also, we're going to get a little expertise. Monday Night Football, why not throw it to the crew? So, Gracie, what do you got on this game?
Yeah, Fitz, I think it's safe to say this is the most important game to date this season for the Kansas City Chiefs. Coming off of what happened a week ago, losing 27-3, all the pressure now on the Kansas City Chiefs, not just to win this game, but to win it convincingly in front of their fans at home at Arrowhead. There's so many expectations for this team, and it has not looked good on the defensive side, and they've turned the ball over. Andy Reid knows this. Patrick Mahomes knows this. They have to start fast in this game. So critical that they get the momentum of being at home, protect the football, and get back to playing the way that the Kansas City Chiefs like to play the ball. The problem is Patrick Graham and the defense for the Giants, they're going to force this team to be patient. They're not going to give up the big play, and they're going to force them to go down the field. Will they have the patience to do so will be a big key to winning this football game for the Chiefs.
That's right. You can check it out tonight. Giants, Chiefs, 8 p.m. Eastern, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN Deportes, and of course, streaming live right here. Just authenticate. Keep hanging out with us. He's Skubie Mageza. I'm Jason Fitz. Monday Tailgate as we get you caught up and ready for everything that's happening tonight. And Skubie, you just heard about patience. That's the thing that I think is really interesting. I'm not sure the Giants are a good football team. I just don't know that this is necessarily a great matchup for the Chiefs in the sense that the Giants defense is going to force them to try and be patient. And in that process, Patrick Mahomes and this offense hasn't really done that this year. So I'm worried about whether or not the Chiefs, who I think are a better football team, can actually play like the better football team in this game.
Yeah, when you think about what the Giants are going to be able to do in this game, I think pressure is what immediately comes towards my mind because Patrick Mahomes has been struggling with pressure this year. He completes just above 35% of his passes and has a 51.8 passer rating when he's under pressure this season. And the Giants are coming off their best defensive performance of the year with 6 sacks against Carolina. So you know what they're going to be doing, trying to bring some pressure towards Mahomes because that's what he's been struggling with all year.
Well, and you mentioned the struggle with the pressure, but let's also acknowledge the fact that's been getting home without the need to blitz. Like, people aren't blitzing the Chiefs right now. They're basically sitting back and forcing him to read coverages because they know the offensive line isn't going to be able to keep him upright. We thought that the offensive line had sort of been fixed through free agency. At least the Chiefs thought that. But it looks like what we saw in the Super Bowl is real throughout the course of this year. Like, if you can get after Patrick Mahomes with just your front four, you can beat him. And then the other side of this, Scooby, is that the defense for the Chiefs isn't good. They're just not. And Daniel Jones has played well this year.
Yeah, and the Chiefs' defense has been allowing a lot of yards and a lot of points per game. I think it's about 29 points per game, which is 27th in the NFL. And at the same time, they're also letting quarterbacks run the ball well against them. The Chiefs are allowing the most rushing yards and rushing touchdowns for QBs entering Week 8. And Daniel Jones leads his team in rushing. So you know they're going to be utilizing him in the running game because when you have your quarterback run the ball, it gives you an extra blocker on the offensive line and with your lead blocker. So I think they're going to attack them in that retrospect, and they get Kadarius Toney back today and Sterling Shepard. So they're really going to put some pressure on this Chiefs defense.
Yeah, I think Toney's going to have a big game. He has an opportunity to have a big game. And look, again, Daniel Jones has had his flaws. The Giants have their faults as a team. But he's played well in this season so far. I've got the Chiefs in this one. Who do you got?
I'm definitely going with the Chiefs.
Are we taking this as a close game? Like, I think the Chiefs are going to be able to. Like, I just gave everybody all the reasons why I think it's a bad matchup. I believe in the Chiefs so much. This is it for me. If the Chiefs don't go out and dominate the Giants, then fine. I will take away everything I thought. But it's still the Chiefs, and on paper, they still look too good.
And Mahomes tweeted something earlier last week talking about how motivated he is to get back to practice. They're going to be ready to play.
So Scooby's got the Chiefs, and then the crew, did the crew get a pick in? All of us have gone with the Chiefs. That's the way it goes. You can hang out with us every single week right here on Monday Tailgate. He's Skubie Mageza. I'm Jason Fitz. Stick here to watch Monday Night Football. Going to be a great game at Arrowhead. Thanks so much for hanging out with us.